Welcome to True Health Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. Addictions. Now, this is hugely important now with societal changes. Now, if you've ever heard, has anyone heard that they're changing the economy a little bit? You know, they're saying that you're essential, you're not essential, you're this, you're that. Okay, and they're shutting it down. And we have one of the two choices of leaders. Okay, is saying we should just shut everything down again. Okay, well, this is going to cause a devastating effect on the psychology, the finances, and everything. So now, currently, we know suicide rates are going to be about 4 times the inflated COVID death rates. So when we talk about addiction, we're looking at physical, chemical, and emotional stressors. There's a need for this, okay? Now, you could talk about physical, psychological. Psychological is a craving that you have to have. It could be, a shopping addiction, gambling addiction. I've got a lot of history in my family of what we went through. And so I need to share that with you to have you appreciate that there is an actual solution to addiction. And it's a process. Good character is not formed in a week or a month. It is created little by little, day by day. Protracted and patient effort is needed. Heraclitus. I mean, now this is my mom, dad on the bottom, me, my sisters, and my mom. Now we're going to go over their stories because that is completely pertinent to addiction. We're starting something new though, because the Ministry of Truth is actually censoring a lot of information. We've had no number of videos censored and wiped out. And this one says that if you say anything that portrays a vaccine as ineffective, unsafe, unhealthy, or describing the diseases the vaccines are created for as harmless, or the ingredients in the vaccine as harmful or deadly, you get withdrawn. So do you remember back? I know I think I'm the only one that does that. I disagree with what you're saying, but I'll defend to my death your right to say it. Anybody remember that stuff? Okay, that was called honor. It was called respect. It was called using science. No, that's no longer. So think of the Soviet bloc, okay, where the government decides on what you can understand. Now we have to divide our content. So I'm not going to talk to you about the 66 U.S. vaccines that have been discontinued because of damage or we just can't talk about that. Don't talk about that. So we have 2 sites, okay, that are going to be for uncensored content. And what we're going to be doing, we're going to be dividing these talks into stuff that the general public or the authorities are approving. But if we were to talk about anything like vitamins or vaccines or masks or corona, whatever, okay, those are censorable topics. We do have Extreme Health Academy. Now, the neat thing about this one is that it has multiple doctors, multiple informations, multiple handouts, forums. So if you get on there, you can talk to people that have had the same or similar challenges and have found solutions. This one's going to be starting in 2 weeks. So this version's live right now on a couple of different sites. You can't. I don't think you can go to it, but I don't think you can access to it. But you've got to type in the www. This is less than a cup of coffee a month. But the key thing is, one of the biggest complaints that we get is I'm putting data after data after data. And this way you can get the PDF form so you can copy the link to all the stuff I put up. So this way we can inundate the world with the actual facts. How deadly is the disease? What's wrong with your immune system? How many vaccines can a human take? All of this data is going to be transferable. So that's the key. That's why I just love this stuff. And uncensored information. So we have to get around it. Now let's get into addictions. I want to tell you about my dad. Okay, now my dad, imagine this. He was born in the teens, okay? And in the Depression, he rode the rails. And that means that if you wanted to get somewhere, you had to sneak onto the railroad tracks and go. Now, the cool thing is he told me, gave me great advice. He said, pal, if the shit ever hits the fan, get a job as a dishwasher. You'll get a good meal. Cool, Dad. That's a good advice or good advice? Yeah. So he goes to World War II, gets wounded in Pearl Harbor. Not bad, but it was kind of gross because he showed me the plate on his leg. He said, feel the screws here. Okay. It still freaks me out. Um, got a job, met my mom. That's what my mom looked like when he met her. Yeah, I know. Roger. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, she's a 40 glamour girl. Okay. Now, they ended up having a few kids, and there was an economic downturn, not near as bad as this one, but a number of people lost their job in the 60s. Now, what my dad did is he lied to my mom. He would take his briefcase, go to work, but since he didn't have his job, he was, still looking, he would go to the bar. And now this is 4 kids. Okay, so this didn't work. So when I was 5 years old, they got divorced. Now this threw him into a massive. Now, has anybody ever had massive depression or anxiety? Okay, yeah, he went to Skid Row. Skid Row is an area where homeless people go and drug addicts. Now, what's a trip is he was down there for a couple of years and he wouldn't talk to us or anything else because you can imagine the anxiety and stress, the feel of loss that you went through. He couldn't even see his family. Well, he got into the Salvation Army and went into Harmony Hotel. Now, this 3107 Grand Avenue. I know that address because that's where I would spend a couple of weeks a summer and occasional weekends. It wasn't real consistent because, frankly, neither was he. But think of the courage that it takes to go through, get into alcohol, drugs, and get out of it. Now, when I would go to this Harmony Hotel, my dad was the manager, which was kind of cool because we had access to the kitchen, so we could go in the kitchen, the big old huge kitchen where they had stuff, and we could make sandwiches, which was neat. In the morning, I had to put a pill, and if in order to stay there, you had to take this pill in the morning, and if you drank alcohol, you would get violently sick. Okay, I forget what it was. Oh, antabuse. Okay, and I mean, figure I was like 8, 9 years old filling this stuff up. So I got a chance to see a lot of these alcoholics and drug addicts who had gone through the bottom and then they're climbing back up. Now, you'll never do anything in this world without courage. It is the greatest quality in mind next to honor. Aristotle. Brilliant. And that's what it is. If you have lost your heart, your goal, your drive, everything, and you're turning to satisfy those needs through drug, alcohol, addictions, whatever, it does take a shitload of courage to get out. But I'm going to show you different methods that you can do to get back your life so that you can start to experience real joy, not chemically induced joy. Now, in my family, this is my 3 sisters and mom down there. My mom's passed about 7, 8 years ago. Now, growing up, I was born in 1960. I got 3 older sisters. One was 5 years older, 8 years older, and 11 years older than me. So in 1968, we're looking at a bunch of teenage girls. In 1969, when I was 9 years old, one of my sister's boyfriend overdosed in the front yard. Now, he gave some flowers to my mom, went out to his car, turned it on, and died. And I went out to check on him, and I thought I was a teenager, but my sister just recently told me I was 9. Now, this is very turbulent times, but also one of my sisters had a beautiful little girl and had a falling out with the father of the little girl, and he tried to kill himself and ended up succeeding killing my niece, okay, by overdosing on drugs. Then I had 2 sister and a niece that actually went to this house it's a recovery house in Pasadena to get off of hard drugs, and they did. I mean, my family's been clean and sober for decades now, okay? But when I talk about damage, recovery, and restoration, I talk with great experience. Okay, 1960, or actually it was 1971, I was babysitting, and one of my sister's friends who came back from Vietnam, he had me hold this rubber thing on his arm and inject. And he had this spoon, and it was boiling. And he was saying, I don't want to see you ever doing this stuff. And I thought, God, isn't that hot? I wasn't freaked out about the drug. I was thinking that sucker was boiling a couple of minutes ago, and it's in the needle, and it's going in your arm. Holy shit. Okay. So you can break out of it. Okay. And I've seen it, but I've also seen the death that occurs from it. So when I talk about addiction, this is a big friggin' deal. Now, depression, you call it melancholy or black bile. Now, they thought that you can actually get out of this, okay, by, well, in 17th century, healthy diets, sleep, music, talking to people. But what we've got now is a massive, massive death rate that's occurring in our children. And we've known this since 91 to 2017. Massive rise in suicides of our kids. And you're going to find out one of the things that we're doing is causing inflammatory responses in our kids. And this is leading not to some stupid mythological chemical imbalance in the brain, because that doesn't exist, but inflammation alters your perception and alters the frontal lobe. And we're going to go into solutions on that. But just think of this. What was your greatest memory from school? And I'm talking grammar school, 5th grade, 4th grade, 3rd grade. Was it sitting around, going to lunch, playing, studying, laughing with your friends? Yeah? Okay, how about masking, 6-foot distance? No more hugs. Can't hug that kid. Okay, recess, forget about it. That's outlawed. Now, how much at risk are these kids at this? Well, there's around a 10-fold death rate from the flu as opposed to COVID. Okay, now that hopefully that's not going to be one of the censorable things, but if I put a reference up there, that could be damaging. Okay, so it might get cut off. So how would you like to have the social distancing, plastic mask, and you communicate a hell of a lot more than with your voice? You can't see expressions. These are little children. Can you imagine? Okay, a third of our practice is under 12. About 3/4 of those are damaged. Okay, neurologic damage. God, I almost said the V word. Okay. Again, that would be censored. Okay. Okay, sorry, Minister of Truth. I shall comply. Okay. So you look at this. How can you do this? Put something that limits your communication, because you have facial expressions, that to a child that has virtually no risk. It's mind-blowing. Okay, the suicide rates are going to be a little bit more than 4 times the any made-up corona death rates. 4 times. And that's a low estimate, because it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. So let's look at this. Let's look at mitochondria. Now, as a human being, you got a cell, okay? And that cell is powered by these little tiny guys called mitochondria. Now, they have your DNA in it. They're amazing. Now, mitochondrial dysfunction is linked to anxiety, stress, depression, schizophrenia. It's interesting, too, that the frontal lobe of the brain, which is controlled by the cerebellum, anxiety, stress, impulse control, all of that stuff is on the frontal lobe. We also know that the gut and the gut-brain canal, it's called the enteric brain, is also affected in this. So does this mean that anything that damages the gut, that damages emotion, can damage the influence inside of the brain? Yes or yes? Absolutely. It's interesting with this. Mitochondrial function will make these conditions worse and harder to feel better. Once this happens, it sets off a cascade of events, including lots of inflammation, oxidative of fats and tissues, and early cell death. So this is called an oxidative metabolic process, which means that if you have inflammation, okay, then you're causing damage to the mitochondria. Now, we have a rash of inflammatory diseases that have never been seen before. It might have to do with the 72 doses of 17 different vaccines that we give from birth to 18 years old that has never been done before. Silence that. Do not say that. Okay? You're going to get your ass kicked. Okay? So when you look at this, we're training our kids to respond with inflammation. That means that we're seeing a rash of allergies, inflammatory bowel disease. I'm getting inflammatory bowel diseases in 6- and 7-year-old children. Okay, this used to be years of damage. Okay, so we're seeing a massive inflammatory processes aggravated in our children. And so this is also going to lead to this dysfunction. Where there's too much inflammation, too many nerve cells die, mental health results, mental health problems. So we have to look at this. But now think of this. They're saying the mitochondrial dysfunction, okay, is lower nutrients. So that means you have to have a poor diet. Don't worry about that. We're in America. Great diet. Okay. And contributes to heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, and cancer. Now, diabetes and high blood pressure, those are not diseases. Those are adaptations to stress. So they're saying here, inflammation and stress will cause a mental disorder because it's damaging your cells. Wow! I thought it was some bizarre chemical imbalance that no one had ever come up with. Okay. No, your body and brain, you create your own pharmacy. You are designed to live here. Your being hasn't changed in about 60,000 or more years. Okay? I mean, if you're concerned about this, I heard there's about 5 caribou up there that have colds and sneezes. I was going to go up and check their diet, but we should vaccinate them. Okay, so when we look, and then what do you do? Okay, in this country, if you have anxiety or stress or anything else, you go to I was going to say chiropractor, but yeah, I guess you're right. They could probably go to a medical doctor. Okay, now are they going to suggest diet, exercise, deep sleep, meditation, yoga, cleansing your body, looking for the toxic, or medication, baby? Yeah, SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Now, if you look at this, it says it's a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, but if you look at the clinical pharmacology, it says mechanism of action is unknown. How does it work? Don't know. But we do know it can exacerbate from mild agitation to manic psychosis. It can agitate depression, obsessive preoccupations. Oh my gosh, I just thought of this. What if that Fucci guy, okay, the one that is talking about washing the hands and staying away from people, maybe he has got an SSRI addiction. Okay, so the problem with this is that it can lead to suicide and suicidal thoughts. So how would you like to give a toxic chemical, not look at any aspect of the body? What's your lifestyle like? Have you lost your job recently? How's your relationships like? Not look at anything. How many bowel movements a day do you get? Okay, because if you're in a stressed state, you're going to have maybe one if you're lucky. Okay, none of those questions are asked. There's no appreciation for human beings. Take this drug. Mind-blowing. Antidepressants are addictive and dangerous. No kidding. I would like to also know how they work. This is interesting. Now imagine if you're designed to live here and designed to handle the stresses of this life. Omega-3s. Amazing. And I encourage you to read that book up there on phospholipid disorders. Mechanism by which aggressive and depressive disorders may be exacerbated is by nutritional deficiencies in omega-3s. Hugely important because our diet in this country is omega-6 weighted. And this is because we're raising animals in a sick environment. If you eat sick animals, the meat isn't healthy. Should I slow down? Okay? No? Okay, good. I know, it seems like, oh my God, a sick animal should be really cool. If anyone saw the series Meet the Natives, okay, you got to see it. It's got to be on somewhere. But they had this group of Aboriginals from, I think it was Papua New Guinea, come to this country, and they took them around. And I thought, oh God, this is going to be ridiculous. Okay, you're going to see these poor natives acting all ridiculous, and they were freaking brilliant. They're connected to the earth and a hell of a lot smarter than our people. They looked at a volcano and they says, wow, this volcano must be related to our volcano on our island. No shit, it's called plate tectonics. Okay, brilliant. And then they went to a factory farm where they had a bunch of cows. And they thought, well, those cows are eating the dried grass. That's not really good for them. And you're injecting them with stuff. What? Aren't you afraid that that's going to get in the meat and then get in you? I'm going, oh my God. These guys have common sense. It's incredible. So omega-3s, hugely important in good brain function. So this is actually how you start.
Now, next week, because we're going to go over this, we're going to go over the illegal stuff that we have to do, but this is part that illegal, I mean to the ministry of truth, the stuff that would be censored, the stuff that we cannot talk about. But this one, we're going to go through the whole thing. So this is actually how you start if you've got addiction, or if you have any lifestyle change that you want to change. Act as if. Act as if. So if you want to be honorable, if you want to be healthy, you park further away from wherever the heck you are. Okay, walk a little bit. Act as if. Okay, and this also works in relationships. If you want a good relationship, whether it's reciprocal or not, act as if. Act as if this is your best friend. Act as if you are honorable, that you weren't homeless or drug addict or any of the guilt feelings that go along with that crap. Throw it in the trash can. Practice doing the right thing and it'll become a habit. Because when you're looking at drugs, addictions, I mean, all of this stuff, think of the habits that you do. You know, is it involving alcohol or drugs at every interaction? Do you hang out with your friends, okay, and instantly you start drinking? You're not exercising or hiking or walking or snorkeling or sailing or all the other stuff that you can do. So look at it. If drugs are part of your interaction, social interaction, practice doing the right thing. Do something different. Get your friends out on a bike or go for a hike. Help someone. And Albert Schweitzer said the person that's found his way to give back to mankind is in harmony. I mean, he is happiest who has found his way to serve mankind. That was the quote. And when you're helping someone else, you get out of that narcissistic feel. Okay, literally, you help someone else can save your life. And I saw that when I was with my dad. You see these guys and you just want to help them. I mean, when we had Christmas, honest to God, I would dress up like an elf. Dad would put on the Santa Claus suit and I would pass out presents. You know, the presents were all donated and stuff. So, but you know, they were just overjoyed that someone, because they didn't have that self-respect or self-love, that someone would care for them. I mean, just incredible. Peer accountability. How would that be? How would you like to say, hey, look, I'm going to do this, okay? And you don't do it. If you got a good friend, they're going to say, hey, buddy, you know, I thought you were going to cut down on this. I thought you were going to, you know, be honest, but come out of love. Because to say this is not easy. I've seen multiple people die, okay, from this stuff. And if you're dying from this, I mean, it's crazy to die from stupid shit. But I mean, these are people dying from drugs and alcohol that don't need to be. They don't need to be. Emotions. I'm going to show you how to address the emotions, because emotions are chemicals secreted by how the brain perceives the environment, not what's happening. And those emotions guide your actions. They drive you. But emotions are also based on how your body is wired. So if you have a consistent response for a consistent action, like let's say that you start thinking about that relationship or that job or that whatever the trigger is that sucks you into the pit of hell that you got to go out and do something, okay? Then you recognize that trigger, you can pull yourself out, but recognizing that is the hardest one. But the emotions have to be addressed, and I'm going to give you the solution in a moment. Work is a good release? No kidding. Okay? Work is great, but why would work be great? Well, and again, my dad gave me some insight. In the Depression era, if you screwed up at work, they would send you home with pay. With pay. Because they didn't want your family to suffer. Okay, and you being without a job was enough of a degradation, enough because you're not a man anymore. Okay, you're just taking a handout. Okay, that was enough psychological slap on the wrist to where you wouldn't screw up at work again. Yeah, try that now. Okay. Oh, I got my stimulus check, no problem, man. Oh, baby, I ain't going to work again. Okay. But work, what is work? Okay, hopefully you're moving. If you're doing physical work, it's great. Then you got to have a plan. And I'm going to show you how to develop a plan that's different than what you think your plan is now. Got to have a plan. And you got to review that plan every freaking day. Because if not, the way your brain is wired, you're going to fall back into that drug, that addiction nightmare. You got to have a support system and keep active. Why active? And I'm just talking walking. And if you can't walk, like let's say you're paraplegic, quadriplegic, you can do breathing exercises, but do those diaphragmatically so you're getting healthy oxygen in. Do it nasal, so you're breathing in and breathe out. I don't want to breathe out too hard, otherwise. But just imagine breathing in and breathing out through your nose, okay? Because this helps your immune system. It's amazing. And develop healthy activities. If you start to understand that you can do stuff, but just make it a habit, like take a yoga class, of course, wear masks, separate 6 foot distance, wear those gloves, and then get to hot yoga. Yes, what's coming off, baby. Okay, and the relapse triggers, that's the key. But of course, we got to heal the gut, supplement, integrate body, mind, soul, which would be amazing. Thought tells the body how to feel. Now, this is a clinic in Mexico that I cannot tell you about in detail. I will tell you about next week. It's about 20 minutes from our office in Tijuana. It's about 2 hours from here. And now they use plant-based medicines or plant medicines. And this is going to be ayahuasca, ibogaine, 5-MeO-DMT. I mean, these are all different things. Now, the problem with utilizing these therapies is that if you do not detox the patient, because there's a lot of clinics out there that do not detox patients, particularly on opioids, and I'm going to describe how that works, because these can cause heart attacks. Now everybody knows if you have an irritation of the diaphragm on the left, that's right where the heart is. The diaphragm is connected on the left to the left trapezius. This is why a heart attack will give left jaw, left arm, left shoulder pain. You all see it in the movies, okay? The right side of the diaphragm is where the liver is. So if the liver has to process the stress hormones, cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, okay, that spasms out the right trap. Also opioids. The liver's got to work harder and harder and harder. So what that does, that moves this right trapezius over and over and over. Where that baby attaches is the sympathetic nerve supply to the heart. Now, I found out about this in the 90s when our school was doing a study on cardiac arrhythmias, where you could do an adjustment and we'd monitor the patient for 24 hours and you'd see less of a cardiac arrhythmia event. Well, the doctor that was running the study went to get these cardiac monitors. And he met a guy who had an opioid rehabilitation or addiction center. And it was actually in Simi Valley, which is like white bread capital of the world. I mean, it's a suburb of a suburb. Okay, you ain't gonna get squeakier than this one. And he was getting his patients clean and sober, but about 20% of them were dying of heart attacks or had cardiac events. And so what he did, because think of this, you get more and more and more stress. Eventually, this pulls the sympathetic, which is T1 through T4, over so far, bam, it fires a sympathetic charge down to the heart, putting the heart in ventricular fibrillation, stopping the heart. If anyone was curious, that is actually the mechanism of how stress kills. Okay, so if you can take the pressure off of those nerves, okay, and detox slowly, you get the patients better. Now, the holistic sanctuary, they do things a little different. Okay, they clean up the person and detox. And I love this. Toxic-free zone. No smoking, no junk food, no coffee, no war stories allowed or permitted. Not only do we not allow patients to sit around and talk about war stories, there's no time for that. Think of this. Clients will be too busy hooked up to a 5-hour IV drip with vitamins. Can't talk about that. Amino acids and NAD. Can't talk about that. Ministry of Truth. At the same time, you get a soothing and healing deep tissue massage. That sounds good. Followed up by a powerful Reiki session. Then you're whisked to the hyperbaric oxygen therapy machine where you massively increase your oxygen. Now you do this for several days. Okay, the owner, his name's Johnny, and he's just a bitchin' guy. I want them to incorporate our live blood cell analysis and maybe full body thermography so we can have an objective analysis so we can gauge when is it appropriate to start doing the plant-based medicines so we can see the blood being healthy and less stressors on the body. I mean, it's just cool, okay? Yeah, we'll talk about that more next week. I know, cool, huh? Okay, it is just like, okay. So here's 8 steps to change your life, and you can see it on the handout. Can you toss me a handout? Oh, no, Sarah's got it. Okay, first, okay, this is going to sound weird, but you got to review your status. What's your life like right now? And this is going to be honest. Now, perfect. Okay, you get a wheel, okay, a wheel. And this wheel, you can put whatever you want in it, but divide your life up into certain aspects. Now, if you're homeless sitting on Skid Row, okay, and you have physical environment, that's not good, okay? It's down here. If you're living in Newport Coast at one of those giant mansions, your physical environment will be out at the back, okay? If you happen to like living in a multi-million-dollar house. I would have my boat here. Okay, so you got to evaluate your life accurately. Okay, not BS it because drug addicts and alcoholics can BS themselves along with everyone else. So this is doing an accurate assessment. And then you look at what you value. Okay, what you value. Not and this is what you value connection with people. Do you value work? Do you value exercise? Do you value knowledge? What kind of things do you surround yourself? And one of the biggest problems, okay, or contributing factors to addictions and alcohol and drug abuse is I should. It's called shoulding on yourself. That means you're living with other values. Okay, don't be shoulding on yourself. Okay? Because why? That means that you're not doing things that you want to do. You know, you're not living with your own values, and values are as unique as a fingerprint. DeMartini has got a great method that you can get on there, you know, answer a few questions, and you'll get the idea. Because it's okay if you value reading over you know, full-blown exercise. You got to add a little bit, but you got to define your values first. Then, this is how you break the cycle. We are all designed to live on this planet. Yes, everybody. Okay? You are on this planet. You're designed to live here. You're designed to thrive in this environment. This is why 45% of your DNA is viral. So you were designed to live here. So there's a universal intelligence, and this is some philosophy that flows around you. So how'd you like to tap into that? You know, people will tap into it using meditation. They'll get some insights. Some people will have a pad of paper and a pencil. So if they get some inspiration at nighttime during sleep, they'll write it down. I mean, all of this stuff you've heard. This is a way to tap into it. Now, what you're going to do, and this is one project. You sit in a room, you and a pencil or pen, and this sheet of paper. You have to write down 100 things to do, be, or become. Now, you might be able to get 20 or 30, maybe 40, maybe 50 if you're really like out there. But you're going to have to dig down to write stuff, and some of it will be crazy. You know, I want to learn Navajo. I saw that World War II movie. I'm probably not going to do it, but I got to fill out number 61. Okay? Then you got to get number 62. Oh, hell, I don't know. Skateboard the Great Wall of China. Okay? You know, swim with sharks. Okay, in South Africa. I mean, do what you got to fill it out. But the key is you're tapping into your imagination and this universal intelligence. Then you go back through the whole thing and you put a 1, a 5, or a 10 next to each one of those. Why? Because this makes it more real. It makes it more real because we've got to change the firing of your brain right now. Because if your brain is firing, boredom, what does that mean? Drugs and alcohol. Okay, so we've got to change that. We've got to change that mindset. And this is how you get it. This is how we're going to get a plan and a map. Then you put a 1, a 5, or a 10. Now, how long will it take you to swim with sharks in the Great Barrier Reef? Well, if you're a certified diver and you got enough money for a plane ticket, and you don't mind going through stupid COVID restrictions, bitchin', you could probably do it next week. So you could get it done in a year. Let's say you're out of shape and you're not a certified diver, okay? And you don't want to deal with the COVID restrictions. You might have to put a 5 next to that. Let's say you want to skateboard the Great Wall of China. You're 60 years old. I got some good skateboarding skills, okay? But to get the permits and stuff, I'm looking at maybe 10 years. So I'll be 70 when I do it. You know what I mean? So even as fanciful as it is, it becomes more real. Then you pick your top 5 1 year, the top 5 10 year, and the top 5 5-year goals. And this is what you're going to build your vision board. Because remember, to get the plan, you've got to look at it daily. To look at it daily, you've got to have attainable stuff. So when you're writing the 100 things to do, be, or become, you're not putting, I want to be happy. Okay, good, get a frontal lobotomy, which is probably better than the bottle in front of you. No, okay, I forget. I think that was Rodney Dangerfield. But okay, but when you look at this, you've got it. It's making it more real. Okay, so then you make the vision board out of the top 5. So this way, you're always reinforcing it. So when you get that trigger that sucks you into that pit of hell, where you got to go in and satisfy those addictions. And what are you going to do now? You're going to start doing the omega-3s. You're going to decrease any inflammatory processes, like no fast food, no toxic things. Anything that creates inflammation alters mitochondrial function. You know, anything. Yes, that'll probably get by the sensors. Okay, so then you got this vision board, and you're going to look at it. And I should bring in my wife's vision board, because before she met me, she had a palm tree, a boat, and John Harding was her favorite like designer or something. And she thought, I'm living in New York, a Pakistani Muslim in New York, you know, and I'm thinking palm tree? I don't know. It came in. So now she's here. But that's my family in the bottom right there. So now, how do you retrain that brain? You retrain the brain. Neurolinguistic programming is one great method. You can also use eye movement desensitization response. You can use emotional freedom technique. There's a ton of techniques out there. I like this one because you don't really have to believe it. It's not a belief system. You just get the job done. Now on this sheet here, and this is why I'm actually really excited for the sites, because I want people to have this. And all I can do is show them this. I can't like give them it, okay? So this sheet, you'll see 2 boxes of words. The box of words on the bottom are self-talk words that 100% of people on the planet will say to themselves if they have a chronic stress, injury, illness. And this is going to be addiction central. These are self-talk words. And this is the programming that most people with addictions are getting, because these are words that you will say if your needs are not met. If your needs are not met, you resort to things that are going to meet your needs immediately. And that's that shot. And it could be a shot like this or a shot like this. Just know I don't want hot shit in my arm, okay? And this is a way to reprogram. It involves body posture, volume, intonation, and breathing. And I've been doing this every day for 19 years, because if you can control your emotions, you control your physiology. I mean, it's hugely important, hugely. So you got to reprogram your brain so you can do it. You can. And what is it? You need a plan. You need specific actions. If you start to feel that emotional cascade, and you're going to get that trigger, you're going to get that trigger when your kid asks you for a bike and you can't do it. And I'll give you a hint. You know what my kid did when he asked me for a bike and I was actually living in a storage unit? We went down there. It was 99 cents per can of spray paint, and it was $1.26 for a roll of masking tape. And we went by standard brands of Burbank, and I said, buddy, what color do you want? He picked gold and red and green and I'm going, really? And then fluorescent orange. Okay, this will be a cool bike. So we take the wheels off, tape it up, spray paint it, tape it up, spray paint it. It was god awful. He loved it. He loved it. Cost me about $5. So if you get a trigger and you do something like that, because now it's fun, okay? But back then, it's devastating. So if you think about that, those thought processes start to fire just like dominoes will fall, and it sucks you into the pit of hell. So once you recognize it, you break this out, And we always tell people 10 minutes 3 times a day. You might have to whip it out more. Now, if you want to kick it up a notch, you're gonna start doing the neurolinguistic programming, body posture, and do it while you're walking. If you want to make it even better, you start walking barefoot. Even better, you do it while you're deep diaphragmatic breathing. So that way you get good stimulation and you can reprogram the brain. It's literally, think of an airplane coming down, pull out, pull out, pull out. This will pull you out. Okay, it's just one of the methods. But also, don't beat yourself up. Okay, I mean, we get people all the time and they say, oh man, I was doing so good, but I had to get that Advil or something. Or, I was really doing good, but I just had that craving for that McDonald's. Okay, cool. 80-20 rule. You can't do that with drugs. But you can do it with maybe diet or sleep patterns or something. Just do it. Start practicing a habit, develop it. Change your state. Now, this one is probably the coolest exercise I've ever seen by one of the most brilliant doctors ever. How would you like to be able to get anything you want? Okay, you put something tangible at the top. Now, everyone's heard of brainstorming, right? We all get together, we come up with an idea and come up with a solution or a plan. Mindstorming is different. You already have the solution. It's inside your head. And this is, again, how to tap into that to get it out of your brain. So you put one thing on the top. One thing. How about work? We got about a third of our country out of work, and it's going to get worse. About 87% of all the businesses that are currently closed will never open again. Okay, so we're talking about 40 million people possibly going to be out of work. So you might want to shift your career. Would that make sense? Yes or yes? Okay, yeah. So this one, imagine if you put work at the top. Okay, then you write 20 specific actions underneath it to achieve that goal. Heck, you could put car. You could put spouse or mate. You could put anything. So now let's say that you want to work. Get details on that industry. What industry? Don't know. Because if you used to be a programmer, or you used to be a mechanic, or you used to be a chef, or you used to be a waitress, or if you used to be any of this stuff, okay, you might want to change. So if you're going to write down an industry and start looking at it. Look up different things that you want to do. Once you have identified your values, you're going to find out what drives you, what's your passion. Do you want to help kids? Do you want to help old people? Do you want to fix cars? Okay, do you want to make furniture? I mean, there's so many things that you could do in this world, but pick an industry first. Find the successful people in that industry and talk to them. Has anyone ever done this? I got to tell you, it was advice given to me, and I did it. I first went to college to be a CPA, and I talked to Rex Imperial, who is a brilliant CPA in the Valley, and he described that really was his name, by the way, this sitting behind this massive desk, and he's saying how he gets to play with numbers and people don't bother him, and I'm going, oh God, that's my hell. I wouldn't like this at all. It's like, good God. And then I talked to a group of engineers at Raytheon, a more miserable group of guys you'd never see. Okay, they're working contract to contract. They friggin' hate it. Okay, so talk to somebody that's successful in the field. I actually did talk to a chiropractor. Oh my God. It was like, dude, okay, I get it. It's really fun. Okay, settle down. Gosh, how could you be that enthusiastic? Okay, and then sign up for training and think of this, because it could be anything. It could be anything you put on there. But by the time you get down to action 20, you've got a plan. And I guarantee you could do each one of those steps, you're going to get it. But also too, it's like that 100 things to do, be, or become. When you get halfway down, you're going to come up. You're going to be creating things. You might not need to do all 20. You might come up with something in the middle. Okay, does that make sense? Sounds cool, right? So the why behind it gets you going. So what happens if you do nothing? What happens if you do nothing and your life doesn't change? With my dad, he'd still be on Skid Row. Well, actually, no, he'd be dead. Okay? But what would happen if you do nothing? Is death going to be early? Are you going to lose connection with your family and friends? What's going to happen if we go along with the programming? Stay away 6 feet. Don't hang out with anyone. Contact trace. What happens if we don't change this? What if I don't achieve my goals? Don't worry about it. You're going to get them. There's no unrealistic goals. It's just unrealistic timelines. So mellow out. Don't worry about it, because you know why most people don't set goals? What if you don't do it? It's okay. The nun that taught at my Catholic school, she's not here. She won't slap you on the wrist. Okay. So that mindstorming is everything. And you can pick whatever you want, but it has to be specific. Has to be specific. You got to get deep sleep. And I recommend looking at our sleep videos. You got to, optimal function is between 6.5 and 7.5 hours. You're going to have to reset your circadian rhythm. You got to play every day. Okay, this is a buddy of mine, my sweetheart and me. Okay, play every day. Even if it's something fun, like let's say you're working your butt off, you got 10 minutes. Beautiful. Put in a JP Sears video. Okay? I mean, well, okay, not one of the censored ones. Okay? Just, it's fun. George Carlin. Now, since you're in a stress state, and this is some of the stuff that helps with addictions, because if you're in a stress state, the soluble fiber juicin cleans the arteries. It gets the nutrients in the system. And remember, inflammation damages the mitochondria, and that leads to anxiety, stress, and depression. This stuff is anti-inflammatory. It deactivates the free radicals that are formed during that oxidative metabolic processes and helps mitochondrial function. Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. Wow! Good God, write that one down. Yeah, Bergman, 2020. No, there was a Dr. Fred Barge who would quote himself. I thought he was cool too. Okay, smoothies, fantastic. What are you going to eat? The stuff that you're designed to eat. Organic, plant-based diet. Plant-based doesn't mean vegan. You can go that way, but you better supplement with B12. Okay, but plant-based diet. So you eat animal products occasionally, but they got to be healthy animals. Exercise every day, barefoot if possible, because this gets massive sensory stimulus up into the brain. The IM exercise, which is neurolinguistic, but breathing. Oh my God, if you do 10 deep breaths, diaphragmatic breaths, right when you're going to sleep, you're going to oxygenate that system. If you do 10 deep breaths right when you get up in the morning, and then when you're stressed, you're working on something that's just driving you crazy, stop a second and do 10 deep breaths. Okay, diaphragmatic breaths, where you breathe in and tummy comes out, you blow out, the tummy comes in. Fantastic. And this one's the best one for a relationship. I mentioned it before, but it deserves mentioning twice. Have you ever had a relationship that failed that you wanted to succeed? Yeah. What's the only worse thing than being alone? Is wishing you were. So how do you avoid the friggin' pitfalls? Okay, 90 days. You do a 90-day challenge. 90 days. You act like this is the greatest lover in the world. Okay, that there's nothing but love, whether it's reciprocal or not. You get 90 days, 3 months of you giving. Get the flowers, open the doors, do everything. And if you get this snarling look, it's okay, baby. Here, let's just start anew. And at the end of 90 days, if it's not reciprocal, bam, you leave, your head held high, you say, hey, thanks, I had a great time, I'll see you later. Okay? Yeah, because you wipe out the guilt. So start downloading this stuff. We've got the library account, which it's lbry.tv. I screwed up last week and I put .com, but it's .tv. BitChute is still somewhat uncensorable. I think it's uncensorable. Library is uncensorable. YouTube, don't know how long we're going to be on there. I've only been on there about 12 years. Let's make a difference, okay? And we can do it right now. Next week, it's going to be part 2, where we go into detoxing, more reprogramming, and more ways to, and you're going to find out the mechanism of how the plant-based medicines work. Thank you very much.